The Auburn Tigers did not move on from Hugh Freeze on Sunday. Does that mean the program is unserious?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsey Crosby of thebarnauburn.com hanging out with us as he does every single Monday. Auburn faces Arkansas this weekend. That's a fascinating matchup. We'll touch on that a little bit towards the end of the show. Fans are super upset with what transpired over the weekend, and I'm not just talking about the game. I'm talking about the lack of news on Sunday. But let's jump into the no news, which is it appears that Auburn is choosing to stick with Hugh Freeze for at least another week. Auburn Athletics Communication, they put out the media availability schedule for the week, and everything looks normal regarding Hugh Freeze's availabilities throughout the week, including press conferences and Tiger Talk and all of that. So it doesn't appear that it will happen this week. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Brian Harsin was fired on a Monday. That was also during a bye week. The same thing. But Lindsey, there's so many folks out there saying this is proof that Penn State and Florida are more serious about winning than Auburn is. And while I get the frustration and how they're upset, you can't rush this stuff, especially when money is involved and maybe even potential contracts or agreements that could help Auburn in the immediate future.
Yeah, I mean, it's like upfront because somebody's going to get mad about this. I don't want to speak for you. I am also frustrated that you had the opportunity to make the move and you chose not to, right? I feel like you could have done this, but there are legitimate reasons to sometimes wait on that, right? It could be something where, Hugh has dealt with a lot of medical issues. It could be something where at the end of the season, maybe he voluntarily steps down. Maybe there's some sort of medical retirement. There's some sort of agreement reached where he takes a reduced buyout and kind of mutual decision to leave versus Auburn just outright being done and paying the entire buyout. As of right now, it's roughly $15 million paid in equal monthly installments over the course of the entire contract, right? If you can get that down from 15 to 10 or whatever, that is something that helps you. Maybe that is the appeal here. Maybe it's just a matter of logistics. We talked about this yesterday. You and I did we talked about it on Saturday after the game. Who's going to call the offense if Hugh Freeze is gone? You just don't have, when he's the guy that calls the offense, if you get rid of him, you just don't have a lot of options for play calling. There's legitimate reasons, but what I think people need to know, nobody's hiring a coach in October. And the back channel conversations that happen about potential openings are going to happen whether or not you have a coach. They're going to happen whether or not you have an opening. There's nothing that says that Penn State or Florida will actually be farther ahead in a job search than Auburn will if Auburn waits to fire Hugh Freeze until the end of the season. There's nothing in reality. It feels like they should be ahead. But the way these things always work, they'll be the exact same place that Auburn will be looking for a new coach this winter.
Yeah. I want to put my tinfoil hat on for a second. I think there's a few options here. I think Cohen doesn't want DJ Durkin to be the next guy. That is my gut reaction to this. Unless it is purely money and they think they can get a medical buyout. But I think you could do that anyway, Lindsey. I think you could restore the hope and excitement of the fan base by saying, hey, Hugh Freeze is going to retire at the end of the year. If that's what it is, we're working on negotiations, what that looks like contractually and financially and, everything that is involved in this professional relationship. I think you could do that anyway. And so my question is, and this has been a big part of the discussion because I've said pretty consistently, I'm not the biggest fan of firing people in the middle of the season unless, there are certain circumstances. Like Brian Harsin was, digging a hole deeper and deeper by the week.
Actively.
That made sense. Actively. Where it's like, oh, you're just not going to recruit. Seems like you're burning bridges. Like there's all these discussions about like, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's like that made sense. This one, while I don't think it would be shocking, and I am a little surprised he survived the weekend, just to be 100% honest. I'm a little surprised here. But I wonder, and I've asked this question a million times, does Cohen and other board members and everyone who will be involved in selecting Auburn's next head coach, whether it's this year or next year or whenever, do they want Durkin to be a legitimate contender? Because goodness, like the timing, if you wanted him to be, Lindsay, you move on from Freeze, whatever that looks like, whether it's agreed upon or whatever you wanted that announcement to look like between Freeze and Cohen and Auburn, whatever you could have done. And then if you wanted him to be a legitimate option, he goes out and he's got a pretty winnable game on the road in SEC play.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then at Vandy's going to be tough. Kentucky at home, that's winnable. All of a sudden you're 2-1 as a, interim head coach. Mercer 3-1. Then you host the Iron Bowl. Like anything can happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And we know all the narratives and storylines. So like my tinfoil hat reasoning for some of this is like, I'm not sold that they want DJ Durkin to be the option because I think the fan base, if Durkin were to do that, we saw what the support was for Cadillac. Whether it's warranted or not, that's not a discussion I want to have right now.
Yeah.
But it would be tenfold, I think, if Durkin were to win in Fayetteville, beat Kentucky at home. Heck, what if he won in Nashville? Goodness gracious, that would be insane.
Yeah.
If they got that bump, that interim head coach bump, which we're seeing throughout college football right now. We saw it at UAB, saw it at UCLA. They're a totally different program now. If that were to happen, then you have to hire him, whether that's good or bad. That's a perspective thing. But there might be a reason. That might be a reason why, because Cohen might say, I want to choose Auburn's next head coach, and I'm not entirely sold at this point. I want it to be DJ Durkin. Is that unreasonable for me to say?
That makes sense. That's the same argument, and Braves fans will appreciate this. That's the same argument I made for not letting Brian Snitker leave Atlanta mid-season when the Atlanta Braves were struggling. Is, hey, if Brian Snitker steps down, retirement, firing, whatever, and Walt Weiss takes over, and the team has a good hot 2 months at the end of the year, he's the guy the next year. That's what happened with Brian Snitker. That's how Brian Snitker got the job in the first place. Was they fired Freddie Gonzalez. Snit came in, the players responded to him, the team played better, and the players outright threatened to revolt if they didn't put Snit in as the main guy.
Yeah.
And it worked out for Atlanta. They won a World Series and all that stuff. But that's the same argument here, is if you put Durkin in and he goes 3-2 or 4-1, it's really hard to not make him the head guy. Mm-hmm. And what makes it also tough as well is if that happens as well, you're in a situation where whatever offense that he was running, which you assume all of the offensive assistants are Hugh Freeze guys. So you assume it's a variation of the Hugh Freeze offense. It also gets really tough to bring in a new offensive coordinator. If one of these assistants starts calling an offense that looks pretty good for 5 games, and this team looks like they're hitting the ceiling of what we thought they could be offensively with Jackson Arnold and Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, it becomes really difficult not only to move on from Durkin, but to not give that interim offensive coordinator the job as well. Yeah. And so there is an argument here to, one, keep the roster together, right? Keep the guys happy. A lot of the players still like Hugh Freeze, right? There's still Perry Thompson had a thing on his
had a post. Yeah, that's right.
Instagram story. He's 100% in on Hugh Freeze. It's tough you can see the argument for not making the move now, but to your point, it is frustrating. And what happens if Hugh Freeze goes 4-1? I don't think it'll happen. I mean, there's no reason to think it'll happen. But what if Hugh Freeze does win everything but Alabama?
Yeah, or right. Yeah, it's like if Auburn goes 7-5, is there a chance you keep them? And I think the answer to that is yes. We'll probably tackle that on a different date, but fans are super upset about this. I put out a question, and you and I kind of went through some of them. There's a lot now. There's more than I was expecting, but I want to jump into some of that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Quo. Quo is great. It's one of those tools that makes a huge difference for business owners, formerly Open Phone, same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before. It just has a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. Lindsay, if you're calling an HVAC company or a plumbing company, whatever it might be, saying, hey, I need blank, I need whatever service, and they don't answer, what are you doing?
First, I'm apologizing for calling them QO on Sunday's show, but then
Sure.
I'm calling the next person on my list. I'm not waiting for them
correct.
to call me back. I'm calling the next company. I'm moving on.
That's right.
I got to fix the crapper. Come on.
It's it's important. And so you can see why 90,000 business owners trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That is QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got pre-existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over for free. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sports book. The line for Auburn, Arkansas is out. As we record this, Auburn a 1.5-point favorite over the Arkansas Razorbacks in Fayetteville. And I agree with this line. I think Auburn should be a slight favorite in this one. But like, I would not touch this line with a 10-foot pole, just being 100% honest. I will say the over-under being 56.5, I would take the under on that for what it's worth. You can bet $5, and if your first $5 bet wins, you get $300 to use throughout the app. So visit FanDuel.com to download the app today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsey Crosby hanging out with us today. So fans are super upset. They wanted action. They wanted movement. I think they looked to the south and saw what Florida was doing with their restart. I think they saw what Penn State was doing and saying, yeah, Penn State's serious. And so I asked the question. I said, Auburn fans, assuming there's no news regarding Hugh Freeze on Sunday, how would it make you feel and what would you think about it? And as we record this, we have 121 responses. I went through all of them. 2 are, it's too soon. The other 120-ish were ranging on different levels of like controlled responses. Some people absolutely crashing out. Yep. And others saying like, hey, I love Auburn, but I'm probably not going to a game again while Hugh Freeze is here. And all of that's valid because we're fans. And everybody can respond to this in different ways, Lindsay. I go back and forth on, like, if it's John Cohen's role to answer to the fan base. Because, like, this was a discussion when the news came out about the Baylor game being moved to Atlanta next year. And, okay, Auburn is getting more money for NIL, which is fantastic, but it's hurting local businesses. And I went back and forth on the same thing where I'm like, I get it. And I understand why people are upset, but I don't know if that's John Cohen's job or not. In the same role, like John Cohen needs to not be swayed by this and do what's best for Auburn. Is this another instance where I disagree with John Cohen? Yes. Yes, it is. But like, you just got to hope and give them somewhat of the benefit of the doubt. They're like, they do have a plan that will better Auburn in the future. But right now, a lot of Auburn fans are not seeing that at all, Lindsay.
Yeah. The thing that blows my mind the most, I think, is the people who have the responses that say this means that so for John Cohen to not make this decision means that John Cohen's job should be on the line. John Cohen's not going to get fired because his first football coaching hire didn't work out. If the third one doesn't work out, or maybe even the second one doesn't work out, maybe that's a different conversation. But if you look at everything Auburn's done for facilities, managing the transition from Bruce to Steven, the extra success that other sports have had, baseball, hosting a super regional for the first time ever, the renovations in that ballpark, all of that stuff. Yes, football makes the most money.
Correct.
But John Cohen's, and this is a roundabout way of answering your question, John Cohen's job is not directly tied to the performance of the football team. And he needs to do what's best for the athletics department as a whole,
right?
Not necessarily what the fans want about the football coach. Because
as
much as
you listed, and granted, my connection, this is the last time I'll record in this hotel room. So like I missed some of that, but I do think like some of the things you listed, like, did Cohen handle the transition from Bruce Pearl to Stephen Pearl well? Like, did it really seem like he had control in that situation? At least that's the narrative outside of it. Was that discussed more than we realized? Possibly, but like I heard other things where, John Cohen wanted that to be a national search. So I don't know. Like if that was him or not. So I don't know. An AD, you're going to be defined by the hiring of your head football coach.
Yeah.
And, I guess Jay Jacobs got a ton of credit for hiring Bruce Pearl and Butch Thompson. But like ultimately, you're defined by like I think he hired Jeff Graba too, which has been an incredible hire. But like, I think, you're going to be defined by who you bring on to be your head football coach. And for whatever reason, like this hasn't worked. There's kind of been different, there's different things that have with it to limit it to being successful. I'm not saying John Cohen should be fired. I'm not saying that at all. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
But I also want to be clear where like I don't think like there's all these Auburn fans tagging him and all that. Like that's not his job. I don't think it's his job to answer to you. So take that for what it's worth. Like he knows they're upset. Like I don't think y'all need to tag him for that. Like he wants to win.
I am very like not tagging people and stuff. Like the players is the worst. Never tag a player in a complaint. That's not your job. But even something like this, like I guess if they want to express it, it's fine. I guarantee you he didn't read it. I've talked to people in administration. They don't read this stuff. They don't read the general temperature of the fan base on social media. But like those of you tagging players, cut it out. Stop it.
Yeah, definitely don't tag players.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance they are seeing it. So yeah, definitely don't tag players. So take that for what it's worth. Auburn not firing Hugh Freeze over the weekend. We'll see what happens next. Because this game, I think, on Saturday is very winnable for Auburn. This is the most winnable in SEC play so far this season. But I'm going to be honest, Lindsay, I hate the matchup on the side of the Auburn Tigers. Let's jump into that in just a moment right here on Locked on Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Lindsay, you're a money guy. We all have all these different accounts out there, whether it's like 401ks with your current employer or you got retirement accounts with your former employers, depending on how many jobs you've had. Like you got all kinds of stuff all over the place. Properties, maybe just individual funds that you started up on yourself. Like you've got so many different things going on. And, you can't just leave money on the table. So use Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com. Using code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you so much for making Locked on Auburn your first listen every single day. Mentioned in the FanDuel read just a second ago, Auburn a slight favorite, 1.5-point favorite on the road in Fayetteville against Arkansas. Watching Arkansas is a little bit of a fever dream just because of the Petrino stuff, like him being the head coach again and all that. Like Taylor Green is a good quarterback. He is a very good SEC quarterback. Auburn saw that last year for an Arkansas team that was not as good. they come into Jordan-Hare Stadium and won that game. A lot of that's because Hank turned it over like 3 times in the first half. If Peyton plays that entire game, they probably win. But that's not what happened. Lindsay, they went into Jordan-Hare and won. Auburn's defense is good. It's tough. I think this offense is tough to prep for because they throw so much at you. And this Auburn defense is good, Lindsay, but they're not good on third down consistently. And this is a team that it doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12. They have an offense that can strike from anywhere on the field and pick up chunk yardage and explosive plays with Taylor Green with his arm, with his legs, and they've got just enough dudes where you've got to cover several different guys. I don't love this matchup for Auburn, being 100% honest with everyone here.
An offense that can strike from anywhere with a lot of talented dudes. What's that like? I feel like that should be a description of Auburn, and it's not.
Yeah, that'd be really fun to cheer for a team that has that.
Yeah,
for sure.
The thing that stands out to me when you look at, and granted, it's the full season, and some of that's Pittman, and some of that's Petrino, and all of that. But when you look at Arkansas's overall team statistics, they score 37 points a game, right?
Goodness. They
average 225 on the ground and 288 from the air. It's not a scenario where they get one-dimensional a ton. You really have to defend every blade of grass, side to sideline to sideline. You have to defend both up short and deep, run and pass. It's really hard to get them into a telegraph situation. I think Auburn's defensive line is going to be one of the keys here because you're going to have to put them behind the change, get them into 3rd and longs where you, in essence, force them to either pass or flush them out of the pocket and scramble a little bit. And I feel like the strength is there for you for Auburn, but one of the weaknesses on defense, I'm going to say weaknesses in air quotes, has been the secondary at times. Being able to contain Auburn very much is kind of like a bend but don't break defense versus they don't allow the points, but they'll allow their yards. And so that's my concern is the defensive line has to win their matchups on Saturday for Auburn to have a chance to keep Arkansas close enough where the offense can hopefully score. We all know the key is the offense. I'm just moving past that to say what has to happen to put them in a position to maybe win, and it's the defensive line.
Yeah, I was in a group chat earlier today, and they're like, well, Arkansas, they can't stop anybody defensively. And I'm like, you want to bet they don't stop us? You want to take that bet?
Not so fast, my friend.
I wouldn't take that bet. I wouldn't take that bet at all, Lindsay. The magic number for Auburn under Hugh Freeze is 24. And it's like, okay, can Auburn score 24 points on Arkansas? They could if they had an offensive identity and wanted to run the football. Yeah. Lindsay, I was at the Patriots game as we record this Sunday evening. I was at the Pats game yesterday, and they come out, and New England runs the football with their running back. And they got 8 yards. And then they did it again, and they got 6 yards. And then they did it again, and they got 12 yards. And they did it all the way down the field because it's it works. Let's do it until it doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you can still do that. And so that's my thing. You will be able to run on Arkansas if they call the game in order for the players to be able to do that. Jeremiah Cobb, when we went live Saturday night, there were so many different players that I out and give love to because Auburn had a lot of pretty solid individual performances. Mm-hmm. They just lost the game because we have no cultural strength whatsoever. But Jeremiah Cobb balled out, and they gave him the ball 19 times. And I feel like Omar Mabson should have gotten 5 or 6 carries. And that's just, because I think this team can run the football. I'd love to see Jackson run it 12 times. Because against a team like Arkansas that you're just more talented than, I think that's the mismatch. But I just have no faith in us doing that at this point.
Yeah. It's Jeremiah Cobb averaged 5.8 yards a carry. And it's hey, let's just only give him the ball in terrible situations in overtime, right? Was it the third down play, things like that? And like, I'm surprised that Justin Jones had the same number of carries as Omar Mabson did.
One.
Yeah. Malcolm Simmons had more carries than Omar Mabson did. It's just, I mean, it's
the no targets to Malcolm Simmons is wild. Like, we have just totally just said, yeah, you're electric, but we can't figure out how to pass you the ball. So we're just going to make Perry wide receiver 3, and we'll give it to you a few times on gadget plays. Yeah. Like, it's just so, like, there's just no creativity to get the guys the football. It's so sad.
The thing for me, like, that New England game, they weren't incredibly successful running the ball, like 36 carries for 175 yards. But to your point, they just kept doing it.
Right.
They kept doing it until Tennessee found a way to stop it. And guess what? They didn't really find a way to stop it. That was the game plan against Baylor. But that doesn't let you show off how much of an offensive genius you are. Right? Like, that's the thing that everybody expects you to do, is run the ball because you're good at it. But that doesn't make you look good, Zach. Like,
here's the great thing, though.
Crazy offense does.
Here's the great thing, and we'll end today's show with this. We're close. We're close to being good.
We're close. We're so close.
We're so close.
So close.
Lindsay, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on X at Crosby Baseball. All of the Braves, all of the Auburn baseball content, thebarnauburn.com, all of the Braves content, bravestoday.com, the Braves Today podcast. Just tons of fun right now covering baseball in general.
For sure. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.